Isaiah walks off. All right. Hey, well, here we are today. So, crazy stuff going on in the world, but we're doing another Post P Roundtable with, we got Roy, Isaiah, Will. And what's our topic today, though? I already forgot. First, before we start, prayers up for Charlie Kirk's family. Tragic loss yesterday, especially anytime it's a 31-year-old with a family and kids gets killed. Doesn't matter what you believe about him or if you agree or not. That's a tragedy. And so, we're definitely going to be praying for that, and just continue to pray for our nation because we need Jesus. I think we're on a tipping point where either we're on the verge of revival or we're on the verge of the collapse of Rome as we know it. There's signs pointing towards both, and I'm hoping it's the revival more so than the collapse of this great nation. So, yeah, we gotta do our jobs as men to stand up for the gospel, even if there's a threat or there's a cost for it. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the cost of discipleship. Even though our faith can cost us something, that should be one thing we're willing to die for.
Hey, what up, say? Yeah.
Speaking of being men, what are we going to talk about, Roy?
Um, so we want to talk about the old Karen lady at the baseball game. I'm pretty sure everybody's seen the video. We'll play it for you guys.
Are you able to clip it into this?
Yeah, I'll clip it in.
So if you guys don't know, there's a baseball game, right? A Philadelphia Phillies game. A player hits a home run. The dad, if you guys have been to a baseball game, whenever there's a home run, it's like a dog pile scrum to get the baseball. And this guy gets it. He runs, and then he goes over and hands it to his kid. Clearly gets the baseball, and the kid's all happy. And then this Karen comes up and just starts berating him and yelling at him, and it's all caught on camera. And then he ends up giving her the baseball, and yeah, all types of controversies happens that it made it on all over social media, from news to sports pages to Barstool Sports. It's funny, the lady actually got fired from her job, and Philadelphia people don't play. She got fired from her job, and everyone's complaining. I think she got kicked out of the stadium, and obviously the baseball player gave the kid a signed bat. It was quite it's funny because it's not really a big deal in the grand scheme of things, what's going on in our country, but it's it's so relatable, and it pissed a lot of people off because it's just it has to do with a Karen and then a family member and then kids, right? So what are your guys' thoughts on what happened and how it took place?
Yeah, what's your thoughts, Roy?
I mean, first of all, I think that it's a good sign what happened to her. Like society, there's still a little bit of glimmer of hope in society. Like everybody knew she was wrong. Everybody told her she was wrong. Everybody booed her. Like you don't do that to a kid. It's a little kid at a baseball game. That's a core memory you just took away from the kid.
And she's like 50, probably pushing
Yeah.
60, you know what I mean?
She works as a school administrator. She works with kids, and she did that to a kid. Like what? And then also on top of being kicked out of that stadium, the Eagles owner, the Philadelphia Eagles owner, I saw it online. He banned her from their stadium, so she's not allowed to go to the Eagles games if she goes to that. So that's also something that happened. Um,
What do you think about that? Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that's a
Was
good
she
thing?
was she in the wrong or in the right, Roy?
oh, she wasn't wrong. Like you go to a baseball game, it's prison rules. So if a foul ball gets hit into the stadium, it's prison rules. You don't take a ball back from somebody. Everybody fights for it. I don't know if you guys been to a game where the ball lands in the seats. It's like a dog pile on that. And then whoever gets the ball in the end gets the ball. You don't go and argue with the guy to give it back to you. And then the fact that so she did something bad doing that. That was just embarrassing on her part. Even more embarrassing was the dad. The way
Mm.
he reacted when she came up to him, like that was the first sign that this dude is just not right. And then he took the ball literally out of the glove of his son and gave it to her and just told her to walk away. Like what kind of a dad, what kind of a man does that?
And he was hiding
Especially to
behind
you.
his son, which was pretty
Yeah.
gay.
Especially to your kid too. Like what is your kid gonna think if you're like, oh, some lady came up to my dad and he just folded over and gave her what she wanted? Like that, you're the dad. You're supposed to be the example for your kid. What kind of example are you setting when you do that in front of your
Well, I'll
kid?
talk about that. I'll
Wait a
talk.
minute, wait a
Like
minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Roy, what would you have done in this situation?
Punched her.
I would have told her to kick rocks. I would have told her to walk away. I would have, if there was security around me, I would have been like, you guys better get this lady away from me before she hears a couple of words from me.
Yeah.
Especially if my entire family's there. Like, no, you're not gonna walk up on us with an entire family sitting right there. Like, I don't know you, you don't know me. You're just some random stranger coming up to me and yelling in a crowded place. Like,
And you didn't
some
get the
over
ball
here.
either. Like, if you got the ball, you would have had the ball. You didn't get it.
Yeah,
What about you, Will? It sounds like you have a difference of opinion.
I have a big difference of opinion, huge difference of opinion. One, the woman, I do believe she was wrong and she embarrassed herself. But when we talk about this cancel culture, we always talk about cancel culture on one side. But even though she was wrong, did she deserve to lose her job? No, she didn't deserve to lose her job. She didn't put no
Hey,
hands on
no,
anybody.
but Philadelphia fans do not play when it comes to sports. Like, it's nothing like California. Like, it's crazy in Philly. They boo their own team after the first drive if they don't score. They throw stuff at their own team. Like, Philly fans are the most passionate fans. So I know in California it wouldn't happen, but in Philly, I'm like, oh, that's an easy punishment.
and
It
keep in
would
mind
happen here
she's
because
from Philly
California
and she
is
knows that.
cancel culture. California is cancel culture, right? Cancel culture is more of a democratic thing, right? You do something bad and now you're the worst person in the world and there's no forgiveness for it. Even if it was 20 years ago, even if it was 10 years ago, we found out about it now on Twitter, so now you're terrible, right? That's cancel culture. And so what this woman did, she embarrassed herself by asking for a ball, right? You're embarrassing. I would laugh at you at work. Like Karen, what the heck was you thinking? But what I
Would you
did,
give her the ball? Would you give her the ball if you're with Wisdom?
now let's talk about that side of it. Would I give her the ball? No, I wouldn't. I would laugh at her. That's what I would have done. I would have laughed. I wouldn't have got aggressive. One, she's a woman. Two, I'm in public. So as Roy said, I'm supposed to set the example. So what example am I supposed to set for my son? To match her energy or to de-escalate or to just ignore? I'm over here. I'm enjoying the game. Ma'am, excuse me. Now she puts her hands on us. That changes the whole dynamic of the conversation. But at this point, excuse me, ma'am, I'm watching the game. Leave me
Yeah.
alone. You know what I mean?
She puts If
I
she
would
puts her hands on you, then cancel culture has the all right to come out and be like, hey, get this lady out of here.
exactly. But to now vilify this father and demonize this father, who was there with his son because if to me what he showed his son is we're bigger than that. Right? Wherever you say he's weak or whatnot, he's a father who took his son. Obviously, it looks like he's an active father, right? He's there with his son. He ran over to get his son this ball at a baseball game. Here you go, son. Proud moment. This woman made a complete, fool of herself. And he's like, you know what? I'm here with my son. Take this. This is small. This is very small in the grand scheme of things. Take this ball, and I'm going to finish enjoying this game with my son. And he was rewarded for that behavior with a ball, with a bat, with everything. And people looked at him as a great father. But now, because this is a part of where you're talking about, like, it's too serious to try to cancel him. In a way, you're canceling him as a father by saying he's weak, he's this, he's that, when all he did was demonstrate to his son, we're bigger than that. This is a woman. How am I going to match an energy woman? I'm not going to argue with this woman. I'm not going to fight this woman. I'm at a baseball game with my son. This is a woman. Get away from me, ma'am. Take the ball. If it's that important to you, it's not that important to us. We're watching the game. Goodbye. That's what I think we should champion him for being a great example to his son, and he was rewarded for that. Isaiah,
I have like two feelings on this. I kind of agree with Roy with the guy, and like you said, you even said, Will, hey, keep walking. You know what I mean? I wouldn't escalate. I wouldn't yell at her, but no, you didn't get the ball. You know what I mean? I've been to a game and it's almost getting to a scrum to get a ball, and I didn't get it. I'm like, dang, better luck next time. I'm not like, hey, bro, that was my ball. I've had my hand on a ball in the bottom of like a pile and someone ripped it out. I'm like, dang, I didn't get it. I'm not going to fight someone. I'm just like, man, I'm not like, that was mine. I touched it first. You know what I mean? And then I've been very close to two foul balls. I've caught one in my life. And you know what I did? I looked at the kid next to me and I gave it to him because I was like, I don't need a freaking foul ball, but it's just part of the experience. So I gave it to this little kid because obviously a kid at the ballpark that, he'll probably remember that for 20 years. You know what I mean? I'd have a useless foul ball. It's not even a home run ball on me. So it's like, I've seen both sides, but also as the man, I would just ignore the lady. Like, hey, and then if she does keep escalating, I'm sure security would be like, get this lady out of here. So I see your point with the dad saying, I wouldn't say champion him or reward him. I see him being like, get this lady out of here. But also when there's unruly behavior, we can't accept someone to just get whatever she wants because she's upset too. And I think that's what
He put
Roy's
her
saying.
hands
Like,
on him too. That's the thing he said. If she puts hands on you, she put her hands on him.
yeah, and it's like she was throwing like a temper tantrum, and then he was like hiding behind the son. Where I'm like, bro, you're hiding behind your son, and then you take the ball out of his glove and give it to her. It's like that's wrong. I would have more stood my ground, and then if it escalates, I'm sure security would have taken her out of there and be like, sorry, lady, this is my you. Or I'd be like, you want to take this ball away from my child who's a kid? How old are you? That's what I would have said, and I would have brought it back to that. You're trying to take this from a kid right now. So I don't think we should champion him. I understand his side, but I also think he should need to stand his ground a little bit more. But when I think we can all agree the lady was completely in the wrong. Now, should she have gotten fired? Obviously, I don't think so. But in Philadelphia, I think, she's probably gotten her house broken into, her windows broken, her tile slashed. And probably the least of her worries was getting fired in Philly. You know what I mean? Because those fans, the old vet stadium, they used to have a prison inside the stadium where they would take people, arrest them, and prosecute them during halftime and throw them in jail in the old vet stadium because Philly fans are that unruly. When they got built the new stadium, they took it out. But look it up. The vet had a jail inside it because they would let a jail with the judge inside of it because the fans were so crazy. They would prosecute them, lock them up during the game. So like when I hear those repercussions for her from Philly fans, I'm like, nah, that's what happens in Philly.
We got to bring that jail back.
What's that?
We got to bring that jail back.
Yeah, I gotta bring that jail back for those crazy fans. But no, I don't think she deserved jail time. But I do believe, like, she turned what's it called? Don't turn a molehill into a mountain or whatever you call it. Like, okay, it's a baseball lady. This kid, it's probably made his night, probably made his year. Let him have the ball. What about you, Isaiah?
Um, I'm not like 100% familiar with her. I saw the video and kind of like looked at it and thought she was a joke. I like Will's perspective, but then again I don't because I think that a man has a moral obligation to show and be a leader for his kid. I don't have kids, but that's what I believe. But also in the same like breath, I would say biblically, like turn your right cheek to someone else. In that essence, I do agree with like I don't agree with giving the ball back ever. Like even if I want to go watch the game and I want her to leave, I'm not giving the ball back. My son earned the ball. He's going to have the ball. He's going to sit down with me, and we can ignore her. And I think also with Roy is like you said, we have a hope in humanity. It's like by her screaming and I'm sitting down enjoying the game, like you're saying, Will. It's like other people are going to notice and be like, all right, bro, like you're being unreasonable and you need to go sit down now. So it's like other people have the chance to jump in and be good, decent humans, and in turn, it's like I'm not gonna waver and show my kid that I'm not gonna have his support and have his back 100% no matter what it is. And it's like I'm not gonna sit here and cause a scene, but I'm also not gonna sit here and show my son that I'm not gonna like no matter what you come. You're sorry, something's crazy outside. This guy. Sorry, I have a guy that goes by on a big intercom and he says some stuff about Israel and 9/11 and all this crazy stuff. He sits outside the fire station and just puts a horn and gets mad at them. I'm like, they didn't
We
do
don't
anything.
even we don't even hear it. So keep going.
Okay, sorry, it's the loud, but yeah, I just think that as the father, he has a moral obligation to show his son how to be a man and how to take a situation and act like a man about it, but also like stand his ground with that stuff too. I'm not saying to get in a fight with the lady or anything like that, but she's wrong, and I firmly agree with that. And I think that you can biblically turn your cheek and ignore it, but also there's a certain point where you can't just let things roll over you, and you have to like stand your ground to a point, and like that was not okay. So I didn't agree with none of that went on.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's because it was the kid. The kid was there, the ball, he had the
That's
ball and
yeah,
everything. That's the main thing. Like
yeah.
if it was just me and without kids and I just caught the ball and she came up to me and started screaming, yelling, she wants the ball. I'd be like, all right, here, whatever. I don't care that much about the ball. But
That's
it's
what I
like,
said. You have an example to show now, like, hey, like
yeah,
people aren't allowed to do this to you because if you're right, you're right. If they were wrong, and say like the little boy snatched the ball out of the girl's hand and ran to the seat and stuff, it was like no, like the kid won the dog pile, like you said, the scum to get the ball. It's like you're gonna get mad because you're like a little boy. I don't know, like Steven said, it's like a little kid. It's like a core memory from going to baseball. Like, no offense, you lived enough life. Like, you don't need the damn ball. What are you gonna do? Put it in your freaking your wind chimes and shit in the corner? I don't know. Like, I just think it's stupid. But
you
I
lived
think
enough
that I
life.
think
That's
yeah,
another way of calling people old.
Well, the last thing I'll say too is that Steven said it's not a big deal. It's not as big deal as grand scheme of things in the world, and I think that it kind of is because we're so self-centered and we're so worried about ourselves, and like that is an older woman who's showing that. Imagine the younger generation that all we worry about is ourselves, all we're worried about is that, and like this is bleeding into the world. This is bleeding into the Charlie Kirk stuff and taking like not just the Charlie Kirk stuff, but just our world in general. It's like we're just so self-centered, worried about ourselves, and we're not worried about anybody else around us. And as long as we get what we want, we're satisfied. Rather than like Steven said, it's like give the kid the ball, core memory, last for forever, and like it's not about you. It's a damn ball at the end of the day. So
Yeah, and then what are we teaching society by showing that, like, if we complain and bitch and moan and argue enough, you get what you want, even though you're clearly in the wrong? That's kind of where I'm at. It's like we all agree she was clearly in the wrong, so it's like, and that's kind of what's wrong with our political world right now. And there's certain minority groups. I thought when you vote majority rules, there's certain minority groups that get laws passed just for them because they're the loudest, most annoying, complain the most, and it's like, wait a minute. So if I just complain and I make the most noise and the most ruckus, I'm going to get what I want. That's not how life works. That's not how democracy works. That's not how, parenting works. If you just throw a tantrum, you shouldn't get what you want. And so, like I said, if she had it in her hand and the kid snatched it and ran, I'd be like, well, go give that back to her. You know what I mean? But if it was like they got it fair and square, then okay, sorry, Karen, you gotta go. Get out of my face.
So I think we're saying the same thing with she's being wrong. Where I
of course.
go back to is the father being in the wrong, right? We know how we would have handled it. But just because we would handle it like that, handling it in a different way, what I'm saying is not wrong. It's just different because you.
I think it's not the way that I will.
Exactly.
It's not the way that I will handle it, nor Steven, Roy. But you might. Anybody might handle it a different way. But I think what we're saying is that like.
Let me ask you this question. Here's another question then. Do you think if your dad or that kid, for example, do you think he lost respect for his dad?
Absolutely not.
Because the Phillies had to make up for it. The Phillies organization had to make up for it by giving the kid the bat because of the dad giving it back. And so the kid wasn't like, oh man, my dad's here to look out for me. My dad's here to protect me. The kid's like, man, Dad, you just gave away a ball that we earned fair and square. So that's my thought. Like, if your dad did that, how would you feel? And like I said, that's the core memory that was robbed from the kid.
So they interviewed them.
I think that one incident would cause his son to lose respect because he's known his father his whole life. His dad has been there for him his whole life. His dad has championed him his whole life. And in this moment...
We don't know that. His dad could be a pushover his whole life like that.
He could have been. But what we do know is his dad brought him to the game. His dad went and fought for the ball, and his dad gave his son the ball. So before he gave the ball away, you would say he's a great dad. Prior to that point, based on what you know, you would say he was a great dad. Am I right or am I wrong? You have no proof.
Of course.
Right? He's a great dad up until that point.
But you said prior to that point.
Right.
That point changed everyone's opinion.
Right. So that didn't change everyone's opinion. It didn't change everyone's opinion because what I'm saying is at that point, he looked terrified when the woman walked up. He was like, oh, snap. He looked terrified. And then he's like, look, man, I'm having this conversation with you. Man, take this ball. Like, get away from us. You know what I'm saying? You're ruining my time with my son.
If I didn't give it to my son, I would have just thrown it back onto the field. Be like, look, now we both don't get it.
So I'm not.
That would have been a better solution.
It was.
Yeah. You really want it? Now we both don't get it.
Don't get it.
But are you saying that son didn't learn anything positive from this experience? Right? That woman.
I would say.
Yeah, that the Phillies organization has his back and his dad doesn't.
Okay, so I would say that no, he did not. He actually lost respect for his dad because they interviewed the family afterwards, a bunch of places. And during those interviews, you could tell that the kid was like miserable.
You could tell.
They would ask him questions. Yeah, he was like, they would ask him about like, hey, how did you feel about like giving the ball back? He was like, yeah, it was okay, but I really wanted that ball, you know. And then the dad was like, yeah, but you got a baseball bat and everything. And he was like, yeah, I guess, but I wanted the ball. So you could tell like he wanted that ball. Like the fact that dad did that to him, it struck something inside that kid.
It struck. That's assumptions. We're making assumptions based
on the interview.
Based on the interview, yeah.
What that you said.
Wrong assumption.
Yeah, but it could be a multitude of things. I just don't want to tear this father down when we're talking about a society that doesn't have any fathers in the home, right? Majority of minority homes, mainly black homes, 73% grow up without a father in a home, right? That what you always talk about is the biggest destruction of American society is fathers not being in the homes, right? That's
Okay,
what we
but
talk about. Hold on,
there's
let me finish
also
this. We That's the biggest destruction of American society. Now we have a father who we can, from what we can see, is in the home and being there for his family. He may be a weak man growing up. You know what I'm saying? He may not be someone who fought. All he knows, I need to be there. I'm a provider. I'm there for my family. He's not the strong, masculine man that are sitting before me today, but he's there, right? And so now we have a father that is there, and instead of just trying to build this father up, like, hey, bro, maybe you should have did this, maybe you should have did that. It's you're a terrible human being. Right? You're a terrible human being because you gave a ball to the woman. You're
So we're not claiming he's a bad dad. We're
Roy
claiming he
is.
did something
Roy
bad
is.
in that. Well, no, in that moment, he did a
Roy is.
bad move as a father.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're thinking. You know what I mean? Like if that's also a good opportunity to teach or stand your ground, we think he didn't do a great job. Now, can he make up for it? Yes. Is he active by taking his son to the game? Yes. But there's also like a thing of your first protector and the person that should stand up for you first and foremost has got to be your parents, right? Because that's the one person you trust in. Their job is to be the protector and the provider for you. It's one of those things that, how do you ruin a marriage? People are like, or how do you get fired from a job? Do nothing, right? People are like, oh, I didn't do anything. Exactly. That's why I got fired. So there's a sin of commission and there's a sin of omission where it's like people are like, oh, my marriage fell apart. Yeah, because you weren't actively doing anything. Oh, my son, I don't understand why he's acting up in school. Because hey, you're not actively doing stuff, standing up for him, building the relationship. It's like there's these teachable opportunities and moments. And I'm not saying he's a bad dad, but that moment, I think I'm going to give him an F on the scorecard. Now he has plenty of opportunities to make up for it, but as a child, you always want someone to stand up for you. And it's a freaking 60-year-old Karen. What's she gonna do? Is she gonna beat up your dad? Like, no, be a dad, and your dad's like, get lost. And I'm surprised as a Philadelphia native, he didn't have some other.
Oh, I just rewatched the video real quick, and I was just like kind of just see, and it's funny because although yes, I agree both sides. It's the kid's first reaction when she walks over. First of all, he gets startled, and they look
And
like
dad,
a
it's funny,
little,
right?
little sissy, little sissy. But he was just loving on his kid because he was happy that he got the ball. Cool, right? He's just being a good dad, and he got the ball. But the kid's first reaction when you look at it, she grabs his arm. She didn't do it rough. She just grabbed him and then started screaming like a crazy lady. But his first reaction was, "Look at her! Wow, this is a crazy lady. Look at my dad." So it's like the kid's first reaction is, what is dad going to do? And then you see a mother come up too. And I'm sorry, but I know the women in my life that if a woman comes up to me to yell at me, the woman's probably going to jump in and be like, hey, you're not going to do this. But the mom was just kind of like, oh, crap. And then leave it to the dad. It's like, okay, I'm not going to put my hands on a woman unless she's putting my hands on my kid or that's we'll talk about that at a different
That's a different
topic,
story.
but
Right to hit a
different
woman.
story. But I'm saying like the woman, in my opinion, is that the wife or the woman should have probably jumped in and been like, hey, I'm going to defend my husband too. And like, you're not going to talk to my son or my husband that way. And you're also a woman coming over here because also that crazy Karen's man was on the other side too. So it's like you got a lot going on, but also the first reaction of the kid is look at my dad. How is my dad going to handle the situation? So yeah, he could have handled it in a really bad way and taught him a really bad thing, but also he could get looked at as that. But I think we find the negative in a lot of things. So of course we're gonna find the negative in the dad. But I mean, I have to say my morals, he did fail. Like he failed big time. And he drop it off like in the you ain't getting that ball.
And I just
You
want
ain't
to
getting
say,
that ball.
like kids to remember the negatives more than they do the positives. So the dad could be a good dad, okay, but that kid is gonna remember that moment where his dad failed forever, because not only is it just a memory of his, but it's on the internet. Everybody knows about it. The whole world's seen it, and it's forever on the internet. So it's like he's
True,
constantly.
but you know who your dad is though at
Yeah,
heart though.
that's
That's
a
one thing I
false
would say.
Plus,
Like
okay, there's another
you know who
point.
your
Like
dad is.
that's another point. Will was saying like the fatherless homes. Okay, I get that point. I'll give you that. But also, just because there's a dad in the home doesn't mean he's also a good dad. We don't know
That's
anything
true.
about the dad.
Very true.
That's true. But do we have any evidence to suggest he's not a good dad?
Yeah, he gave the
From
ball
what
up to
we've seen,
Karen.
yeah. From what I've seen,
He
yeah.
should have.
And I
He should
also
have
have
kept the ball, Will.
I have evidence suggesting that he is a great father because he took his son to the ball
All
to
right.
get in the scrum to give the dad the ball, right? So
Maybe the mom took them to the game.
there's
You don't know.
evidence on both sides. Now, okay, now we're just devolving.
I'll just say, it's good to take your son to the park, but I think as you are your child's first protector, you're their first line of defense. You're the person they have to put all their trust in. And I would say, I know as a leader and a gym owner, a lot of times something goes down, people look to me first, or like in Bible study, someone says something unbiblical and people will look at me and I'm like, okay, I got to address it. If I don't address it, I already know as a leader, people will think I'm weak. You know what I mean? And I've had some pretty, Roy's been there. I've had some pretty uncomfortable conversations when someone says something unbiblical or like says something that doesn't line up. And I'm just like, okay, that's my job as the leader. And I'm sure if some of those things went by and I didn't address them, Roy probably wouldn't respect me right now because I'd be like, oh, it's okay. Yeah, we'll pray for you. Do what makes you happy. Roy would be like, well, this guy's not a leader. You know what I mean? And so I think there's a level of responsibility in fatherhood that you got to be a man of conviction and hold your ground, especially, like I said, if he's there by himself, whatever. I wouldn't even care either. If you're there with your kid and your kid's expecting you to stand up for them, even it's like, we're all going to have kids here one day. And obviously our kids are not going to be, let's say they're not going to conform to the patterns of this world, like Romans 12, right? Our kids are going to stand out. And I think we might get called to the principal's office a few times with our kid. And our kid's going to be probably do something right, but it offended their modern day culture. And our kid's going to look to you and say, is my dad going to stand up for me? You know what I mean? Dad, you taught me this. Are you going to be like, hey, apologize, just apologize? I'm going to be like, no, my kid's right. You know what I mean? This person said this and my kid said the truth. I don't care if it offends your son. So it's like, but then your kid's going to be like, okay, because if I'm teaching my kids these biblical things, I'm teaching my kids this stuff. And then when it comes into action and my kid's getting in trouble and I start backtracking, my kid will lose so much respect for me. I'm like, son, I don't believe my son's in the wrong. You can punish him if you want, but I'm not going to tell him he's in the wrong. You know what I mean? And then my son's going to be, okay, I'm going to listen to what my dad has to say because he is, he taught me these things and he's got my back when stuff hits the fan. So that's my 2 cents on it. I mean, I'm not going to say we don't know the whole record of the dad. I would say in that moment, it was a bad moment. And unfortunately, it's always captured on TV and your worst moments now are broadcasted for everyone to see because of social media.
Let me ask you guys a question though.
What's that?
Do you guys think that he wears the pants in the house or his wife wears the pants in the house?
Well, his wife walked away. His wife walked away, so it looks like she was expecting him to handle it too. So, and she didn't stand up to the Karen either. So I think he's supposed to, but obviously it didn't go down like that. But let's get into another topic. While we're on the topic of being a man and a father, and we like to talk about family on the show. What's our next topic, Roy?
Who should be the provider in the house? Is it just the dad, or should the woman have to work as well? Do you guys think that every household should have 2 incomes, or should just be the dad being the main provider, and then the mom stays at home and takes care of the kids in the house? And this is gonna be a hot topic.
I think we should start with Will. We should start with Will and Steven because they're the 2 that are married. I mean, I'm just being honest.
I'll make it quick. I think that every household is different, and I also believe that every single man, if they had the ability to make enough money, they wouldn't want their woman to work. I think that's the case. In society now, it's impossible in San Diego for one person to be the sole breadwinner in a household. It's very difficult, right? You need 2 incomes to sustain a household and live a comfortable life in San Diego. So although I would like to be the sole provider for my household and my wife, she can work, and now we use that money to make investments, but it's not a requirement, right? I don't need her stress. Now I'll take on the stress so that when I come home, we all relax. You've been chilling all day, so you can just, your job, I'm relaxed. The kids are relaxed. Everything is just relaxing. But that's just not reality nowadays. You need 2 incomes to sustain a household, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Stephen, what do you think?
I mean, I'll tell you my story and then I'll tell you my opinion. When I got married to Mercedes, I told her, you're never going to have to work because you have to. You can work because you want to. And I've kept that word ever since we got married. So but one thing about my wife, she's from Mexico. She's a hard worker. So she personal trains people. She has her own clothing brand. Like she likes doing her entrepreneur things, but she doesn't have to pay for anything. And this isn't a bad thing. That's my goal. I said, use the money for whatever you want to do. Anything from groceries to bills to housing to rent to cars, whatever. I'm paying for everything, and I've kept my word to that. But I also do realize in this economy, I know in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that was much easier. I do realize today it's a lot harder. I mean, I believe every man should strive for that, and I believe it is possible wherever you go. But I also, because I believe two things, like that should be one of your motivating factors to work your ass off and work hard. Is I don't want my wife to have to work. I want my, one thing too. You never know what's going on at daycare too, from sexual assault and minors and all that crazy stuff. I don't ever want to have to go through that with my kids. So I want my wife to be able to stay home, which is why I work, 10 times harder. And then also like the school system's so messed up. We've talked about, I have friends that are at the same age having kids and maybe even doing homeschool cohorts where like all the wives can teach the kids and do homeschool. So it's like, we don't want our wives to work. And I think it biblically, the man's provider, the man's the head of the household. And so that's been part of my word, but that's also something that gets me driving, gets me up every day, gets me super driven, makes me work super hard because I don't want my wife to have to work. Now, if I'm going to sit here and say, Will, you're a bitch, you're not a man because your wife has to work, I'm not going to say that because I do know you guys got bills to pay. I do know you guys have 3 kids with another one on the way. You guys do live in San Diego, but I know you should be striving for that goal. You've told me that, right? You want to retire Liz. And so just because it's hard now doesn't mean you won't get there eventually, and that's why you are doing investments. And that's why and a man should be investing. He should be doing things to make extra income. He should be doing all those things. I think on a single household income and the guy doing one thing, it's going to be very hard unless he's like a billionaire, unless he's like a very successful in whatever field he does, a doctor, a lawyer, or something like that. But I would say that should be every man's goal. Is it always feasible? Maybe not, but I know plenty of my friends, including myself, my wife doesn't have to work. And I think that's how God designed it biblically. But also, I think that's what should be driving you, right? Just like you wake up in the morning, you have kids, you have a wife, I'm going to work extra hard. For me, I tell my wife, I'm like, my goal is to pay for my mom's house. My goal is for you not to work. And I got a whole village in Africa I'm supporting. And I got kids in the Philippines I'm supporting. I was like, I can't fail. So every day I wake up and I work my ass off because I put that chip on my shoulder that makes me work harder. When I'm tired, all right, we still got to do it. Now I got a kid on the way. I got to work twice as hard. If I want a second kid, I got to work 3 times as hard. Right? Like I said, in theory, every man's like, yeah, I want to provide for my wife. She shouldn't have to work. When the rubber meets the road, life's expensive. Unfortunately, after 2020, we have like 20% inflation. So if you were making 100K in 2020, that 100K is worth like 80K now. You know what I mean? And in the 90s, it blows my mind that my parents had 5 kids and my dad was the primarily breadwinner in the 80s and 90s. And it's like 5 kids. I got to be a millionaire to have 5 kids nowadays and my wife not to work. So, which I will get there, but I'm not going to judge a man, but I think biblically that should be what you strive for. But also your wife should want to be a hard worker. Your wife should want to, if your wife's goal is to have a sugar daddy, then don't marry that person, right? My thing is because my wife works so hard and she's such an amazing person. I think she's going to be such a great mom. I don't want her to have to work. But if she married me so she doesn't have to work, that's not someone I want to be with. I know if I lost all my money tomorrow, my wife would go straight to work and start hustling and working hard, and so would I. And that's the person you want by your side. And that's the reason why I don't want her to work, because she works so hard. And that's what you need to look for in a spouse. Don't be like, I just want to find a hot woman that's a sugar daddy, and then I'm going to take care of her. Because that's going to be a bad spouse and a bad woman. You know what I mean? Like my wife has proved her work ethic coming over here from Mexico by herself, hustling, making it alone. And she even told me when we were doing construction in the gym, we used to get in huge arguments. I was like, you can't get into construction with us. And then we got in this crazy argument one day. And she's like, I don't want to be home by myself. She's like, I'm going to go with you and do construction and help build out the gym. And, in my mind, I'm like, that's why I married this person. So while she doesn't have to work, she's not afraid to work. And I think that should be what we should strive for in finding a spouse. And that's the person you want to take care of. So it's like, yeah, I know if I have no money, she's going to be right there. I know if I move cities, she's going to be right there with me. I know I will always take care of her because of those things and those characters and qualities she has shown me. I know what she wants, and I know the vehicle she wants in the future. And I'm going to be one of those people that gives that all to her because I know she's just an amazing wife, and I've been blessed. And so that's kind of my thought process. And God's given me these gifts and skills and being a serial entrepreneur to where I think I can do that. And I think, you guys should strive for that too. That's just my thought.
Let me ask you guys this question. So you meet a woman who makes a ton of money, more than you, and she has the ability to be the sole provider for the house, and she asks you to stay at home.
Absolutely not. What?
You would be surprised, dude. A lot of guys today are going after that. They're going after the rich woman.
But then you don't wear the pants. You know what I mean? You gotta ask your wife for allowance or what? Hey, wife, can we get this? Can we get this? You know what I mean? So that's like I said, I'm not against a hardworking woman. Those are characters we should look for in a wife because that's the biggest blessing you can have as a man is get a hardworking wife. But yeah, if she's making more than you and like she's paying all the bills, the head of the household gets messed up biblically, right? It goes God, then it goes man, then it goes the wife. And if you submit to God, she submits to you. By the way, if you're listening, if you're not submitted to God, don't expect a woman to submit to you because you can't properly lead if you're not in submission. So, but I'm saying that it screws up the hierarchy, right? If she's making way more and you're not doing anything, you might as well have the baby too and birth out of your vagina.
I mean, that's the problem with today's generation. Pastor Mark Driscoll, he talks about it all the time. He talks about these guys wanting to go out there, and they're so used to their mother taking care of them their entire life that they just want to go and find a second mother that they marry, and she takes care of them their entire life. So it goes from not even to a wife relationship. It's like a mother-son relationship, or like an older sibling to a younger sibling relationship. And
it's like for me, what I'm appalled by, I hear adult men play video games. I'm not against that, but like wives will give them video game time. Okay, you come home, you get like an hour on your video games, and I'm like, bro, that's not a wife, that's a mom. She's giving you video game time. Like, you got to earn it. Like, you got to ask for permission. Can I have the controller so I can play video games? Like, that's literally adult and whatever. I know guys play video games, stress reliever, but
she brings you snacks too while you're playing.
She brings you snacks, and it's like if you're an adult man playing video games and like ignoring your family and not being present with your wife, like seriously, right? Like, dude. And like I said, I don't play video games, but like, yeah, it's like, hey, babe, I can't. I'm raiding this fortress right now with my teammates and my headset on. I'll talk to you later. I'm busy. You know what I mean? Like, dude, come on. What do you think, Isaiah?
I agree with both of what you guys are saying. I think that the biblical hierarchy, like you were saying, gets skewed, like from what Roy's saying. I know personally a lot of dudes that are chasing, like, I know of dudes that were in the military or just people that I've known that have said that, I'm trying to find a girl that has a lot of money. I want an older woman. And it's like, yeah, that's cool and all, but like I think you lose the essence of being a man. You lose the essence of struggling. Like you said, you have responsibilities. You and Will both have responsibilities on the way, and it's like that makes you guys hungrier. That drives the man to be better, and it's like you lose all of that when you kind of submit to not, like you said, not God, but you submit to like a woman just being able to provide. Like, I don't know, you're not a man at that point. I think that if you're struggling or if you're in a season that might not be bringing you like prosperity and you need the help, that's what you said, like you choose the wife accordingly because she's going to have your back no matter what, but you still got to get back on your feet and keep going. So I agree with everything you said. I really don't have a rebuttal. I think that nowadays it's hard. I think that it's good to have a woman by your side that wants to support and help you, and if she needs to go under the bridge with you, she'll go under the bridge with you, and you guys will make it through and work your ass off. So that's just my 2 cents, and I agree with what you guys are saying. So
I want to add more clarity. I'm going to tell you guys a secret, but it's between us, okay? It's between us. So my wife...
And the whole people watching the podcast.
So my wife makes more money than me, right? She makes double what I make, early on in our relationship. That's something that has stressed me out, and I feel like it stresses me out because I'm a man, right? I take on more responsibility. I pay most if not all the bills in the home, and my thing is I need to make more money so that I can pay more of the bills. That's my thing, and I feel like there should be a level of stress for men to take on all of. That's how we're built. That's why
Yeah,
we're.
but you're still striving to be a provider. You're striving to be the man. You're not comfortable, right? You said you have a level of stress. You're not just like, oh, my wife makes more than me. I'm cool with it, right? You're like, heck no, and it drives me every day to make more money. And even though that's you said she makes more money, you're still paying all the bills, right? Because you are still a provider. I mean, and you're like you said, I love that you said you're not comfortable with that. So it's like this is a season maybe for you, but I know I see the work ethic, I see the want, I see the desire in your mind. You're not just like, okay, that's how it's always going to be. You're like, no, I'm hustling, I'm working over here, and it's something that's okay for a season. I'm sure there's many men that marry a wife that makes more than them in the beginning, or you marry into a family where the wife's family has a lot of money. But as a man, you should still want to be okay. No, it's my job to be the provider, right? And so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, if you're comfortable with it and like living off her and like I said, asking for allowance, then we got an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if you marry into a rich family, but the wife doesn't give you the money your in-laws do?
So I
And
know,
you
I
better
know, I know people
stew
were
it.
like the mom and dad are always trying to buy them a house and like they always go to the mom and dad for money. And I'm like, no, that's my job. You know what I mean? Like I'm lucky both my parents and Mercedes parents don't have money, so we don't have that option. But it's like I do know people who are like they have very rich in-laws that pay for everything, and I'm like,
I mean, it goes back
I don't know
to
how I feel about it. I mean, obviously they want to take care of their daughter, they love their daughter, they want to make sure their daughter doesn't struggle and their daughter's kids don't struggle. But it's like I feel like I need to pay those bills or buy that house or something like that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, for
Stewart,
like it
steward the money.
goes, yeah, it goes back to like the biblical principle. Was it in Timothy what he says, um, those who don't provide for their households are worse than unbelievers and have denied their faith. So that's like the verse that's calling out basically men. Like men should be providing because if you don't provide for your family, you denied the faith. It's worse than an unbeliever. So that's like a motivating verse for a lot of people that I
I think
know.
if you take on that, I think if you take on that money though, it's like, okay, you got that money, you're blessed with that money, no matter what. Everyone's situations and cards different. It's how you steward that money. Now, if you go and blow it and go on vacations and do all crazy stuff, it's like cool. But if you are blessed and someone wanted to give you money, like if someone came to me and was like, "Hey, here's $1 million," it's like I'm not gonna. And they're like, I insist, I don't want anything incentives back. I'm gonna be like stupid to be like, no, I just do not want it. You can't receive if you can't give, you won't be a good receiver. You won't be a good receiver if you can't give.
I mean,
So it's
that's
like
different.
I think it goes both ways.
That's different from
But I'm saying,
relying on something.
but I think,
Let me
yeah,
ask you this
I'm not
question.
relying.
Let's go from the other end of the stick. Let's say we're all wealthy parents, right? Let's say one day all our kids grow up, we're very wealthy, we're successful, and your daughter marries a bum and they're always coming to you for money. What do you do?
I
Are
would.
you
That's the
supplying, taking care of
that's
them? Are you
that's the
not blessing
standard.
the
You
marriage,
said
or he's playing video games all day and doesn't want to work? I keep picking on the gamers out there. I'm sorry. But
Sorry, Roy.
Whoa,
But
wait.
I'm saying, how would you guys feel if your daughter ends up an unmotivated bum man that doesn't provide? What would your guys' reaction be? And let's say they're always asking you for money
I
because
would
that's
say
your daughter, not your son. Your son, you say figure it out. Your daughter, what do you do?
I feel like that's where I failed as a parent. But because you're now married, then that's who you're tied to, and y'all need to figure it out. Now, I would always have an open door for my daughter if she was to leave this individual because he wasn't doing what he's supposed to do. Or I would have an open door for both of them if he finally decides to get his life together and he has a job. And now I would be able to provide a space for them to save money to build their home or buy their home. I would have these avenues open for them. But like you said, if you're describing someone, my daughter Wisdom ends up marrying somebody who's a bum, he has no dreams, she's the one working, he's living off of her, then I'm not going to enable that lifestyle. I'm not going to enable them. Hey, Wisdom, figure it out. I will talk to her. You my baby. I'm gonna continue to talk to you. I'm gonna continue to hopefully inspire you. But I can't keep enabling this man that you chose. I can't, and I won't. So that's what I would do as a
What
father.
about you guys?
It comes down to effort. If I see that the guy is actually making some effort into trying to like kickstart his life and provide, but just not being able to, that's a different story from him not wanting to and just being lazy. Like if I see effort, yeah, I'll help them out. I'll If I don't see effort, then I'll probably help out enough just to like not have them go homeless, but that's about it. I won't give them any like extra spending money or anything like that. Just basically like the base amount that they need to not live on the streets.
What about you, Isaiah?
Hmm.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, you would hope your kid, from seeing you and the example set before them, would choose wisely based off of the examples that your either mom or dad set and how they choose a partner. Because, yeah, I mean, well, I guess Will can tell you, and I can tell you, like, who you choose affects every area of your life. You know what I mean? And you no longer do anything alone. And yeah, those are things. So I guess we can all agree, if you have you don't have to, but the motivation should be there to work hard enough so where your future wife doesn't have to work. And I think that's all of our goals. And you want to be able to, you know, provide for them and provide for your kids and show that, hey, dad was a hard worker and dad was the one that he always handled it. He always, you know, we always put food on the table. We never went without a loss, and he always provided for us because my dad would take the shirt off his back for me because he loved me that much. And he was working that hard. And I'll put another example. I want to tell this story, you know, when it comes to finding a wife, you know, which I want to provide for my wife. When I walked away from TG, and I was like, you know, I'm afraid, what if we're poor one day? And she's like, I'm from Mexico. You don't know what poor is. And, you know, and that was one of the things, like, oh, I picked the right woman. Right. And then when I said, hey, I want to move to Fresno to open a gym, she said, wherever my husband's going, I'm going. And so those, I think, are the traits you want in a wife. And if you find a wife that's that dedicated to you, how could you not want to provide for that person? How could you not want to make that person's life as easy as possible? Because it shows how much they believe in you and how much they're okay with, like, they're not marrying you for your money. They're not marrying you for your success. They're marrying you because they love you, and they, you know, obviously they sought the Lord when it came to marrying you. When you meet that type of person, how could you not want to do everything possible to make their life as easy as possible? You know what I mean? So I know, Roy, you're going to find that one day, and Isaiah, I know you're contemplating with what's going on in your life relationship right now, but those would be my things. Like, yeah, if you're the right person and you're biblically a man of God and you're following the word, like, how could you not want to provide for that person, right? Like, I see Will grinding and hustling over there because that's what he wants to do. He's been telling me since day one, that's my goal. I want to retire Liz. That's my goal. I don't want Wisdom to have to worry about anything when time she's 21. You know what I mean? So it's like, we will lead by example, but also we need to, you know, work about it. We don't talk about it. We got to work for it. Right. And so excited to see you guys, excited to see your future. And, you know, let's just keep working. If you're out there, I mean, you don't have to be a guy that has to provide from day one, because that might dilute the people that you're attracting. But you want to find someone who themselves are a hard worker. And that's the person where you're like, man, I'll do anything for this person. So,
Amen.
amen.
Right.
What's up?
What's up? Yeah, I was gonna actually wanted to pray in because of all the crazy stuff happening in this world, but we just started going. But I think, yeah, let's just end in prayer. This is a good time of iron sharpening iron, right? And I love your guys' perspectives. I always say that. I love that we can have a competitive banter, and it makes us all better here. So I'll pray for you guys. I guess every week someone different will pray. Dear Lord, I thank for this group, Lord. I thank for this podcast. I pray you continue to bless this podcast. I pray we can reach the people out there, reach the masses, and I pray that we always keep us grounded in truth and a biblical perspective. Thank you for this time of ironing, sharpening iron. You know the desires of our hearts, Lord. You know that we all desire to be better men, eventual fathers, better husbands. I pray that you continue to work through us and we give us this platform, Lord, to be able to share the good news of Jesus Christ with those that listen. And I pray if those who are listening, Lord, you bless them, you look after them, and you can show them your love, Jesus. Pray for this nation. You continue to protect this nation. Bring us back to you, Lord God. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right, gentlemen.
Peace.
Yes, sir. Next week.
Hey, what up, say? Yeah.